You live across the country from your aging mother, and she is the one on the ground. Your autistic adult daughter's safety depends on your mother's judgment. From a distance, you are trying to manage care, risk, and responsibility while real life keeps moving forward. And lately, it doesn't feel like anything is working anymore. Today's episode with Anna asks a hard but necessary question. Can responsibility for safety remain indirect when you are not physically present? Anna has been carrying a burden quietly for a long time. The conversations with her mother circle but never land. Decisions are assumed instead of clarified because distance makes the delay feel reasonable. And frustration keeps rising because the responsibility is hers even when she is not in control. Safety becomes the pressure point that exposes everything. Hey, Christian Care Companion. Welcome back to Dementia Caregiver Support for Christians, the podcast for Bible-believing Christians who are facing hard burdens, hard conversations, hard decisions, and hard emotions, just like Anna. In this episode, Anna is confronting her mom's inconsistent behavior while her autistic adult daughter's safety hangs in the balance. She can no longer assume her mother will act responsibly. Distance has removed visibility and with it, the margin for delay. What must now be clarified is not just behavior, but who is truly responsible for protection, for finances, and for following through. And if you need help in seeing your own situation clearly, whether it's a burden, a conversation, a decision, or an emotional pressure point, you can schedule your own 15-minute DigniCare solution session at thinkdifferentdementia.com. You'll leave that session with clarity and 3 grounded care advising paths for your own real caregiving question. Now listen closely to today's episode as Anna and I unpack her situation with her mother in a Christian dementia care advising session. So Anna, to start with, what has been the hardest for you in your caregiving journey?
I'm not physically caring for my mom right now. I live in California. She lives in Pennsylvania, and she's in her mid, like 83, and she's retired from being a police officer. And I'm not sure, but was an alcoholic. I don't know how you get over being an alcoholic, and very narcissistic personality. My big problem with her is that my autistic adult daughter lived with her, and then in the past year, I went home to visit last summer, and I was concerned about my daughter's tires in her car. Kept the light kept going on to get her tires inflated. I said to my mom, I said, "You need to really, what's going on with these tires? We need to get something done with these tires." And she totally ignored me. And then um, like a month ago, she said, "Oh, well, Melissa's tires went totally flat." And she drove home from work on these totally bald tires. I said, "Mom, what on earth? How could you let Melissa drive home on these totally flat, bald tires? How many times have I told you to please do something about those tires? That is really negligent and dangerous to me."
Okay, so
It really upset me. I feel like something's going on, and she keeps saying, yeah, she's forgetting things and this and that, but then it's that she's just a very manipulative personality, and I just I don't know. I'm living, from far away, and she's so conflicting on what I can't do, what I can do. It's just whatever floats her boat on any
Okay.
given day.
Okay, so what I hear you saying, to start with what has felt the hardest for you, is trying to unravel the difficulty of a mom who your daughter lives with on the other side of the country. So if caregiving felt easier for you in 6 months from now, what would be different? Your burdens, your conversations, your decisions, or your emotions? Just pick one that stands out as the most difficult right now.
If I could have clear communication with my mom to help her meet her needs.
Clear communication with your mom to meet your mom's needs or your daughter's needs.
Actually, both.
Okay. So, what do you think is standing in your way of getting that right now?
Her behaviors, because I can't get us straight. I can't even trust her to get clear facts. And I know that's why I brought this subject up about the tires.
Okay. So, what I hear you saying is your mom's behavior and or responses to things. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Would it be okay if I ask you some clarification questions real quick?
Absolutely.
Do you have a definitive diagnosis that your mom has dementia?
No,
Okay. What makes you suspect that she has dementia?
because of her comments, she'll say, I don't know what day it is, but I know she knows what day it is because she does things on a time, she pays for her bills on a timely basis. She knows when my daughter's going to work. She knows when she's going to the gym. Her behaviors contradict what she says.
Okay. So, but we do not have a definitive diagnosis of dementia.
No.
Okay. When is the last time that you saw your mom?
Last year at Thanksgiving time,
When are you going to see her again?
probably this spring, unless I
Um,
need to earlier.
okay. So last year, so it's been about a year since you've seen her.
Yes.
You live in California and your mom lives in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay. And your daughter lives with her and she has autism but has to be fairly high functioning if she is working. Is that correct?
She is high functioning. Yes.
Okay.
And she even drives. Yeah.
Who lives in Pennsylvania other than your daughter that you can tap on for observation?
No one really, because they're a very distant family. My uncle and my aunt. I, my mom has a younger brother, retired police officer, north of about an hour north of where she lives, and then my mother's sister lives about an hour away, and she just they don't have good communication. She probably is the closest to my mother's brother, but they don't have a very good relationship because I think of her alcoholism and her behaviors.
Does she still drink?
I think she does.
But you don't know.
No, ma'am, I do not.
Can your daughter tell us?
I I'm not sure she can even tell.
So, what kind of work does your daughter do?
She works as a grocery bagger in a grocery store.
Okay. Does your daughter notice any difficulty with your mom?
I haven't heard anything. I have not heard that. No.
Okay. So, since we are in a Christian conversation, specifically dementia caregiving support for Christians, is your mom a believer?
No, I am a believer and my daughter's a believer, but she is not.
Okay.
And that's really difficult.
I 100% understand that, and I'm so sorry. I understand that for sure. Would it be okay for you to hear a few things that have popped up in my head as we've been speaking?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's complicated in the sense of we have physical distance, we have potential substance abuse, we have no definitive diagnosis of cognitive impairment, and we have an unbeliever.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And we have an adult daughter who lives with some measure of her own difficulty.
That's right.
Okay. So the first question I have for you is your daughter able to live alone long enough for you to get to her?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like there's an immediate, oh, we need somebody right there and then.
Yes, that is correct because my mom had a heart procedure a couple of months ago where I was totally freaking out about how Melissa's going to fend for herself for a couple days till my mom got out of the hospital. And she was fine. She had groceries in the house. She was able to get around to her job well. And I was really terrified, but it was fine. It was fine. My mom's brother's wife kept in touch, kept me in the loop. And so it was actually a supportive incident that happened. My mom actually drove herself to the hospital and drove herself home from this cardio procedure that, like, they zap your heart back into a
Into
uh
her rhythm. Yep.
yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
And, so it was, actually a good, incident that happened that made me feel more comforted
Okay.
to know that Melissa would be okay in event that I would have to jump on a plane and go back to Pittsburgh, which is
Okay.
what I would do, obviously. I mean,
Sure.
to me, if in need.
Happens to your mom that your daughter is independent enough that we don't need to worry about her needing supervision or help for 1 to 2, maybe 3 days, long enough for you to get there and jump in. Okay, so if your mom passes away, your daughter will come live with you. Um, the hardest part of your particular situation right now is that if your mom does not have a diagnosis of dementia, and if this has been her pattern of behavior her entire life, and it is dementia, it's not been diagnosed yet, but we're starting to see the changes happening. That's one possibility. She has a difficult personality from before that, but it is now way more frustrating because she's 83 and you're on the other side of the country and your daughter's in the middle of the mix. And we're dealing with an unbeliever that we do not have certain avenues of being able to communicate with them related to sin. So what we have to look at is what can you, Anna, do in this situation? Because we're not going to be able to change your mom. All we can do is change how you respond. That's the only control that we actually have is how you respond to the situation. So, yes, your daughter's safety is of utmost importance. And back to one of the earlier conversations that I had with a couple of people today, most frequently our frustration is in the gap. Like when I was on the cruise that I went on in October, November, literally that was the thing that I told people probably the most is our frustration lives in the gap between our expectation and the reality. Your expectation is, I'm not saying your expectation is unreasonable. I do think it is a reasonable expectation that your daughter have safe tires to drive on and that these things be taken care of. But the reality is, your mom's not doing it, hasn't done it, didn't do it, wasn't going to do it, and you're frustrated in that gap, right? So I'm not minimizing your correct. It's an unsafe situation.
It was my daughter's car. And then when she finally drove home on all the bald tires, mom did get all new tires for her, but she had to get to that point. And that wasn't her first warning. I mean, it had been a whole year of me saying, Mom,
But
you need to do
what
something about these.
I'm
Okay, I'm
trying to
sorry.
determine though is whose car is this?
It's my daughter's car.
Who's responsible for the upkeep of your daughter's car?
My mother, because my daughter's definitely not able to.
But what I mean is who's paying for it? It's
My
one.
mom is
Okay.
my daughter gets she's working, she has a little bit of an income, and my mom has a retirement whatever income from being a retired police officer. So ultimately, my mother's handles the finances, and I hope that's correctly answering your question.
No, it's helpful because it's complicated in the sense of it's your daughter's car.
Yeah. And financially, she's unable to take care of her own needs financially.
Okay. Then what was the agreement made between your mom and your daughter, or between you and your mom related to your daughter as to who is responsible for paying for what?
My mom has been responsible for paying,
But
yes, financial.
was that agreed upon? Did your mom say that she was going to do that, or is that just an expectation?
No, it's been agreed.
Okay. So if it's an unsafe situation related to my kid, and I've certainly been in this particular situation, they went through a period where my son-in-law was not able to work because he was sick, and my daughter could not make enough money, and they needed tires for the car, right? And so we stepped in and we did it because it's a safety thing that's going to put somebody in the hospital
Mm.
or in.
No, actually, I'm sorry, but it wasn't a financial need at all. Mom has plenty of money for those basic needs to have been met. So
I
it wasn't like
understand that.
she didn't have the money. There was money to be
I'm
taken
not
care.
saying your mom didn't have the money.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm saying that your mom didn't do it.
Yes, that's it.
And as the mom of the kid, I would have stepped in and considered doing it because of the safety of my child, because I don't want somebody else to die because there's a car accident and so on, right? So 100% you're correct. Your mom has agreed to do these things, but your hands are tied unless she is doing those things. So your options are continue to dialogue with her and convince her, influence her to do what she's agreed upon doing, making the appointment for the car for your daughter, helping your daughter get the car there, and then telling your mom, car needs new tires. Here's the bill, pay for it, right? What other ways can we put strategies or things in place to meet the needs of your daughter so that she is safe The conversation you and I are having is just a snapshot of a bigger picture of frustration, right?
I think this is very helpful because it already gives me ideas on what I can get AAA for her and I can set her
Yes.
up with a mechanic. So this is very helpful. I appreciate your input.
And your daughter is a believer and you are a believer. We cannot, it is unrealistic to expect an unbeliever to act like a believer.
Absolutely.
They don't
No,
they don't act like we
not,
do,
no.
right? And so whether your mom's a narcissist, whether your mom is an alcoholic, whether your mom is has dementia, all of those things are within this ecosystem of she is not a believer.
Yes, that's right.
So
I
this
agree.
whole part of she is not a believer is why she acts the way she does, why she makes the decisions that she does, why she probably drinks the way she does, right? She has no hope of eternity. And that's a hard, hard thing. It's a hard place to be. But our tools are limited with what we can do with your mom, but we have more tools with what we can do with you. Obviously, pray for your mom, pray for your daughter, right?
Yes.
Protect your daughter as much as you are able, put strategies around her because you have to recognize your mom is not going to do that. And then you have to um, be very cognizant about whether or not long term this is the right situation for your daughter to continue to live in.
Okay.
And then remember, frustration is always in the gap, always between the reality of what's going on and the expectation. It can be the reality is here and the expectation is here, and then one person's frustrated, but it's always in that gap. So when we expect your mom to act like a believer, think clearly, do the things that we would do, but the reality is she isn't doing it, you're going to be frustrated.
Okay.
So
I feel better. So thank you so much.
you are so welcome. So what is one thing that you can try next week or do differently next
Um,
week?
well, I'll be checking in with my daughter about her auto needs. Make sure she's got AAA and that she's got set up with a mechanic and that she can call for help when she needs. If
There you
she can't get a hold of her mom, she can call AAA or whatever
Yeah,
and have that taken care of. That's a peace of mind right there.
peace of
So
mind, right?
thank you. I don't even know why I didn't think about it.
That's okay.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. By the end of my conversation with Anna, it was clear that her daughter's safety could not stay assumed from across the country. Relying on her mother to notice problems and act on them was no longer realistic. Once that burden was named, the focus shifted from waiting for better communication to putting concrete protections in place. The emotional weight changed only after the responsibility was taken out of the fog and handled directly. If you are in a similar place, schedule a DigniCare Solutions session so we can clearly identify who is responsible for what and determine what cannot continue as it is in your particular life. You can find these at thinkdifferentdementia.com and select the DigniCare Solution session. Now, as we close today, may the Lord bless you and keep you. And we will see you next week as we move into our new weekly schedule.